On December 7, 1946, a Douglas DC-4 carrying 55 people simply vanished into the Wyoming wilderness, and almost nobody remembers it happened. The wreckage lay scattered across the snow at 10,500 feet, pieces of fuselage twisted like paper, still smoking when the first rescue team arrived days later. This telegram right here, dated December 10th, is the moment the Army Air Forces confirmed what they'd suspected. United Airlines Flight 409 had struck Medicine Bow Peak at full speed. No distress call, no warning, 55 souls gone in an instant. But let's rewind. Flight 409 departed Denver that morning, December 7, 1946, a routine hop northbound to Seattle. The DC-4 was one of the workhorses of the post-war era. 4 engines, pressurized cabin considered state-of-the-art. The pilot, Robert Mifflin, was experienced. The weather forecast, clear skies reported ahead. Everything looked normal. The flight plan took them across the Medicine Bow Range, a chain of mountains that rises abruptly from the high plains of southeastern Wyoming. In winter, that terrain becomes a wall. Pilots knew to respect it. The route itself wasn't unusual. Commercial traffic crossed it regularly. But on this particular afternoon, something was wrong with what the crew could see. Here's where the mystery begins. Radio contact was lost around 3:15 p.m. The last transmission from Flight 409 was routine, the crew reporting their position, their altitude, their heading, then silence. No emergency call, no indication of trouble, just nothing. Ground crews waited, minutes stretched. By evening, it was clear the aircraft wasn't coming. The search began immediately, but the mountains in winter don't cooperate. Snow had already buried the high passes. 3 days passed before a search team finally spotted wreckage through a break in the clouds. What they found was devastating. The DC-4 had struck the mountainside at roughly 210 miles per hour nose first. The impact was so violent that the aircraft was nearly unrecognizable. Bodies were scattered across a quarter-mile debris field. The official count, 45 passengers and 10 crew members, no survivors. Now comes the investigation. The Civil Aeronautics Board launched a full inquiry, and this is where the story gets complicated. The wreckage was examined, witness statements collected, weather records reviewed, but a crucial question remained unanswered. Why did a competent crew in a reliable aircraft fly directly into a mountain they should have seen coming? The investigators considered several theories. Radio direction finding equipment was still primitive. The crew might have been confused about their exact position. The altimeter could have malfunctioned, giving a false reading of their height above ground. Or perhaps the crew was simply disoriented by the weather, which was deteriorating faster than the forecast suggested. But here's the irony, and it's documented in this report right here. The most likely culprit was something almost mundane. Controlled flight into terrain. The crew was flying on instruments, trusting their equipment and their navigation. They had no reason to believe they were off course, and by the time they realized something was wrong, they were already committed to the descent. The CAB's final report concluded that the probable cause was improper navigation, a polite way of saying the crew didn't know exactly where they were. They were flying into terrain they couldn't see, relying on instruments that weren't precise enough, and the mountains won that contest every time. What makes United 409 genuinely forgotten, the reason you've probably never heard of it, is partly timing. Just 1 year later, in 1947, commercial aviation was booming. The post-war travel boom was underway. New aircraft were being built. Accidents tragically became routine. The industry moved on. There's another reason, though. The crash didn't fit the narrative that airlines wanted to tell. It wasn't sabotage, no dramatic story there. It wasn't mechanical failure, no design flaw to fix and advertise. It was simply human error, the kind that could happen to anyone, which meant it could happen again, and that's uncomfortable. The families of those 55 people received compensation, modest by any standard. The crew was buried, often far from home. A few small memorials were erected in Wyoming, but there was no grand inquiry into how to prevent this. No revolutionary change in navigation systems. The industry simply absorbed the loss and continued. Yet this accident, obscure as it is, actually mattered. It was one of many mountain crashes that eventually pushed aviation authorities to develop better radio navigation systems, improved altimetry, and mandatory terrain awareness training. United 409 didn't change things alone, but it was part of a pattern that couldn't be ignored forever. This telegram, this report, these names in the casualty list, they are artifacts of a moment when aviation was learning the hard way. Every crash was a teacher. Every tragedy was data, whether the industry wanted to admit it or not. Today, the wreckage of Flight 409 is long gone. The mountain hasn't changed, but the lessons embedded in that crash, about navigation, about instrumentation, about the limits of human perception, those lessons are still flying with us, built into every commercial aircraft that crosses difficult terrain. United 409 is forgotten by the public, but not by aviation. It's one of thousands of crashes that built the safety record commercial flight has today. That's not a dramatic ending. It's just how progress happens quietly, one tragedy at a time, with nobody watching. Subscribe, there's a new forgotten aviation mystery every week, and each one rewrites what we thought we knew about how we fly.